Okay, this is a 10 out of 10 for me. DoD strips job protections from civilian employees, directs managers to fire with speed and conviction. Ooh, ooh. They're stripping due processes significantly and making it easier for arbitrary terminations, similar to private sector employment. Now, I do not agree with violating civilians' rights to due process as long as it's in alignment with the Constitution. However, job protections for terrible civilians is not something that we as taxpayers should be responsible for. So the Department of Defense is stripping away job protections from its civilian employees and directing managers to act with speed and conviction to fire employees performing unsuccessful. At the Presidio of Monterey, I would suggest with Oscar Ordonez and Julian Santiez in the Family Advocacy Program and the Army Housing Program. A September 30th memo titled Separation of Employees with Unacceptable Performance, which became public Tuesday, also warned that managers will be held accountable if they fail to remove poor performers. Now I'm wondering if Jillian's not retiring and is actually getting fired, and so she's running top cover for herself. That's probably what's happening. Pentagon's Undersecretary of Defense for Personnel and Readiness, who signed the memo, suspended the department's requirement that managers attempt to rehabilitate underperforming employees, clearing the way for supervisors to fire workers whose performance is deemed unacceptable more quickly, like a family advocacy personnel coming to court to intimidate a victim of sexual assault and domestic violence for over a year while protecting a known abuser. They're trying to cloak it in legalistic language and make it sound legitimate, but really they're stripping due process significantly and making it easy for arbitrary terminations, similar and functional to private sector employment. Man, that sounds a lot like what's happening in family court. Welcome to hell, civilian employees. This is what families in civilian courts have been facing, and civilians trying to get justice through the DoD have also been facing a lack of due process. So as they say, turnabout is fair play. As somebody who was in charge of the DoD personnel policy at one time, we felt obliged to add our own procedural requirements to the OPM, which is the Office of Personnel Management, and the laws, because this way we're going to do things in the Department of Defense. Basically, the memo says, nope, we're not doing it that way. And it says it could be used to remove anyone who doesn't align with the Trump administration, Long story short, in contrast to the recent past, for whatever reason, agencies overprotected employees, and as a consequence, there are many poor performers like Jillian and Oscar. I think that the American people want to hold these employees accountable. I sure do. They don't want to see them fired willy-nilly. No. I want, the proof of their terrible actions shown, which you'll see in season 1 of the Trebuchet Podcast, and I have all of the documents and FOIA requests to back it up. I want to see them fired for poor performance, and that's the ultimate objective of this memo. God bless. Bye.